Well, it's 10 o'clock on my phone, so I'm gonna go ahead and get the meeting started. Happy New Year's to everyone, and a Happy New Year. And hope everybody has a blessed one. And we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And first thing on the agenda is, roll call. Everybody taking care of that, right? And we're going to introduce some new board members here today. And what I'll do is have you introduce yourself, and if you want to say a couple of things, you're welcome to. Put you on the hot seat right away.
Good morning, my name is John Higgins, brand new to the board. Looking forward to getting to know everybody and doing service to our community.
Thank you.
Oh, hi, Eric Brack. Thank you for nominating me and selecting me for this service, and we're looking forward to it.
Welcome in.
Okay.
I'm Ann Coakley, and ditto. Happy to be here and looking forward to it, yeah.
Okay. And then we'll go introduce other board members in a minute.
Oh,
okay. Where we at here?
Cheer.
Oh, I knew there was another one.
Yeah, my name is Maria Guadalupe Garcia, and Cortez is for my daddy. So my daddy, his last name, my daddy is Cortez. So I choose Garcia for my ex-husband. Yeah, and I'm glad to be here, and thank you for inviting me.
Okay. And I think most of you know me because I was on the interview committee, but I'm Art Quintana, and my 6th year on the board here. And I will be conducting the meeting today.
My name's Arlene Zordman. I've been on here about 6-7 months now. That's it.
Okay. Go ahead with.
Bonnie Dooley. I've also been on the board about 6-7 months, so Arlene and I were the newbies before you guys came on board.
Okay, and then want to introduce yourself?
Sheila.
Yeah, I'm Sheila Conroy, and I've been on the board about 4 years. I think I've just been told I'm no longer on the board at the end of 2025. So whatever that means, I've been here for 4 years. And it's really good to see these new people. It's getting a bit bored seeing the same faces around the table.
Yeah, nice having a big table here. Roddy, you want to?
Yeah, Ronnie Maina, Senior Services Manager. I officially started my 2nd year in this role as of December 27th, I think. So I had a lot less gray hairs on my face a year ago.
Yeah.
But
it's going to get worse.
Yeah. But excited to work with all of you.
Good.
Yeah, I'm Marcia Martin. I am the City Council liaison to this board, and I have been for 6 years. 2 years to go since, yeah, this is we switch them up sometimes when there's a new city council election. So we just had one, and I got to keep you guys. And that means I get to keep you all the way to the end.
Yay, good.
I love this board.
Thank you. Jeff?
My name is Jeff Friesner. I'm the Director of Recreation and Culture. And fortunately, I was lucky enough to hire Ronnie, and I'm here to support him for a few more months. And then I think Ronnie will be ready to do his own thing, and I'll go back and do my thing.
I'm going to miss you.
Yeah. All right. And my
Robin.
Robin, I'm sorry.
I'm Robin Bosica. I'm the admin assistant here at the senior center.
Okay. And Mr. Dave.
Yeah. What?
Introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Dave Grunna. I'm a citizen member today. I was on the board, and I wasn't quite elected or nominated and approved, I guess, by the city council, so it was just an oversight. But I'll be back as a member at the the next meeting. So I can't vote today. I can talk, but that's about it. I do have some things to say. And am I the last one? Maybe before you go any further, if you would let me read a letter from Beth Bowles. She asked me to read her resignation letter.
Okay.
From the floor. And this is last October. Beth Bowles was on the board. Very good member, I thought. Anyway, she said, Ronnie, Dave, and Senior Citizen Advisory Board, I regret to inform you that I am unable to fulfill the remaining 2 years of my 3-year term on the Senior Citizens Advisory Board. Please consider this email as notice that I am resigning my board member position effective December 31st, 2023. I am thrilled there were 6 applicants for this board's vacant positions. This has made my decision to let go of some of my commitments such as this much easier. It has been a pleasure working with all the talented board members and staff. Wishing you all the very best. Sincerely, Beth Bowles.
Thank you, Dave. And I do appreciated her. She's really vocal and had a lot of input, good ideas. Okay. Next, the orientation manual review. Who's doing that one?
Just we're passing them out, and I think it's an opportunity for us to kind of just go through all of these.
That one's for
Marcia, I think we live in the same neighborhood.
Well, Rich?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on North Parkside.
Oh,
And you're
I'm on South Emory.
yeah.
Yeah. If I ever got out.
You never got out.
We'd see each other.
Yeah, that's Lonnie, that's right.
I can't.
Yeah, I'll hang on to yours. Oh, Dave has?
Yeah.
Well, that's yours, Dave.
Yeah.
What's that?
That's yours.
Yeah.
This is
And I'll
mine?
hang on to Sheila's, yeah.
That's mine?
And that one's yours.
Okay,
And then I'll hang on for Sheila.
all right.
You don't want to,
Actually,
you don't want to hand it to her?
We'll deliver it this afternoon.
She wants you to toss it over to her.
Can you hear us? Go ahead.
can I say something?
Absolutely.
I'm ashamed to say I found my folder before I came away when I was tidying up my home office. So I don't need a second folder. And I promise I will read it when I get back. So thank you for thinking of me.
Is there any changes from the last one we had?
There were some updates.
Okay. There are some updates.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
And we are providing this as background information for the board. Want to make sure that the new board members start out with as much information as possible. We'd encourage you to read through it. I think one of the most important sections in there is your responsibilities as appointed to the board by the municipal code. And there's also contact information for all the other board members. And for the new board members, Ronnie and I will be scheduling meetings with you to kind of bring you up to speed with what's going on with the board. With how quickly this meeting was after the new year, we really didn't have time to schedule that, but we will do that before the next meeting. And thank you for being on the board. And if you have any questions in between meetings, please don't hesitate to reach out to Ronnie or I.
The contact information is not in there yet. We wanted to gather the new information. That'll
Okay.
come soon.
So, yep. So new board members, I'll collect your information at the end of this this meeting, and in February we're going to identify positions for this board. So I'll collect information. February I'll identify that, and then I'll send that out to everybody for us to add it to this binder.
normally that you appoint chair and vice chair at the first meeting, but because of the unique issue with Dave this time, we thought it would be best to wait till the February meeting and then have that election then.
I'm glad to hear that. And one thing I forgot to say is welcome to the new board members. We're happy you're here, and we look forward to working together as a board here. Thank you for that. Okay. Approval of the agenda. What do we need, a motion on that?
Or November 1st. Oh, I'm sorry, for the agenda.
Yeah, the agenda. Do we need a
motion?
Do we need a motion?
I make the motion.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion second for the agenda. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No. Good. Okay. Approval of previous month minutes.
Which would be November.
Yeah, the November meeting. And of course, the new board members nor myself were not here, so I mean.
Arlene, you were here.
I was here.
That's why I said it's gonna have to be you, one of you three.
Okay, I move that we approve the minutes from November 1st, 2023.
All right, good. Moved in second. Anybody here from the public to be heard? Besides Dave?
If you don't mind, I'll just jump in when I got something to say.
What's that?
I'll just jump in when I got something to say.
You bet. Okay. Okay.
I've got something to say.
Yeah. That's why I hesitated a little bit.
Some of you folks have heard me pontificate before, but I just wanted to, as part of the orientation, I think there's something the new members should know, what we've been doing over the last year and what we're hoping to do over the next few months. In your manual and in the minutes, the city ordinance is listed as far as what are the goals and objectives of this board. And you can read that and study it for yourself. But we're going to change the way we make our report to the city council this year as opposed to previous years. I think drawing a blank here. Pardon me. I don't know what happened.
Did you want to talk further about?
Yeah, I remember what it was.
Okay.
Now. Yeah, I didn't have a lot of sleep last night. I guess that's the problem. Anyway, one of the things that we've been working on over the last year is, I was talking about the direction that we want to take the board and things that we want to do. I think that we, I'm just going to pass for the moment. I'm going to pass for the moment.
Okay. Okay, we'll go into old business committee reports. Arlene?
So I included a copy of the report. Okay, and because we're always running out of time, I thought it would be easier that way. If you guys read it and you have any questions, I certainly will try to answer them. But I think there are some areas that, as advocates, we need to look at advocating for the seniors. And one of them is the microtransit. And there's like a little blurb on that, about that. I think we need to advocate that it be either free or extremely low cost. Otherwise, it's not going to be beneficial for a lot of the seniors who are on low income. The mobility hub is kind of an interesting thing. It's going to be out on I-25 in Colorado 119. Like you can catch the bus to Denver, you can catch the bus to Fort Collins, Loveland, wherever. That's something that will be completed in the fall of '24. This one really excites me, the Front Range Proposed Railroad Passenger Train, which will go from Pueblo to Fort Collins. And granted, it's going to be probably 10 years, if not longer, in the making, but at least they received the money to take a look at it and say, we've found the route we want, which is the route right now that the railroad goes through town. And it goes through all of the towns. If they take that route, it will probably be Amtrak that does the rail, the passenger rail. We are going to have a hub here. I think that easily Longmont will be able to say, we want the train to stop. And that way we can, I mean, if you want to go to Denver, my thoughts on this are, if I want to get on that train here in Longmont, ride to Denver, the cost that I'm paying for that train, I want that cost to take me from onto the light rail in Denver to the airport. And I think that's something that we need to think about for the future. I don't know what that passage is going to require, whether we would have to pay an additional amount or what that would be. And how long is the pass going to be good for? Is it going to be good for 24 hours? Is it going to be good for, if I want to go down there and spend 2-3 days down there? Am I going to have to pay again to come back? So I think those are things that we need to think about over the next 10 years. Questions that we need to ask because somehow or another it needs to be functional for us. Get on that thing, get where we want to go, and not have to pay $100 or $150 to do it. Because then you defeat the purpose of driving. So that's my 2 cents. The grocery shopping thing I wrote a little bit about. And the design for 119, there's a lot going on there, and there just wasn't a whole lot that they were talking about. So I think we just keep on top of what's going on there, which will be probably a little bit of disruption to our lives if we're headed to Boulder. But
It's a diagonal up there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then
need us.
no, they don't. And I have seen the lights on Main Street, those new installed lights working, and I'm very impressed with them. People actually are seeing them, stopping for them. They're being able to get across the street, and so I think that that's really great. One thing I thought about that I didn't put in there, which I noticed when I was sitting at 21st and Main, is some of the lights that are down here in downtown when you go to cross Main Street, both directions of traffic, all 4 directions of traffic stop, and then the walk light goes on before any of the traffic is allowed to go. I think we need to take a look at expanding that all the way down Main Street. Because I noticed at 21st and Main the other day, the people that were going to cross the street, the minute the light turned green for me, the light turned for them. If we give them just that 2 or 3 or 4 seconds time to start getting across the street, it gives them the ability to at least get moving, and cars can see them, or they should be able to see them. But I think that's something we need to take a look at, and I don't know how we would advocate for it, but I would say even down, when I've been down on Pike at Quail, down there, those streets, people need the ability to be able to get across before traffic starts going. So I think we take a look at all the way from Pike and Quail down there up to 66, and maybe even just that street light beyond 66. And I think it's a computer thing. Yeah.
It is a computer thing, and unfortunately, you have to upgrade the individual light appliance so they can talk to the computer system, and so the city is replacing them within the confines and constraints of its budget. And what everybody can do is to write a letter to Mr. Jim Angstad.
Oh, yes.
And maybe we can put that in the minutes, his email address. Yeah. And just say how important it is to seniors.
Well, I think it's important to everybody. If you've got a family and they're trying to walk 3 or 4 kids across, I think they need to be able to get across before traffic just all of a sudden starts going.
Especially if there's a baby carriage.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Just the same as a walker, any mobility device can slow you down just enough to have you in the middle of the street with traffic coming.
Yeah. So that's one of the things I thought of afterwards. I thought we need to take a look at. And as far as Jim Angstead goes, this is something kind of off the track, but I believe he does Vision Zero. And I was
Yes,
wondering if we
yes.
would like to have him attend one of our meetings and explain to us, Jim
Oh,
Angstead,
yeah.
explain to us what Vision Zero really is all about and how Longmont is incorporating it into our area. And I would be glad to ask him to come if that's a possibility.
So, in terms of the implementation of Vision Zero, Phil Greenwald is sort of the design and visionary, whereas Jim is responsible for the implementation, and he's the guy that like decides where the light goes and stuff. He's engineering. So if you want to know the ideas behind it, Phil would be a better explainer.
We can,
We could get both of them, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I think it would.
we'll reach out to them and get them on an agenda.
That'd be great.
Yeah, because I think it'd be nice to hear.
Yes.
Excuse me, what's Jim's last name?
Angstad, Angstad.
Thank you.
Is he the guy that ran that transportation?
That's
I
Phil.
think-
That's
Jim,
Phil.
Jim was at our meeting a year ago, a little over a year ago.
Okay, that's fine. All right.
And the only thing I was going to say is that as we look at the future with the light rail train, whatever we want to call it, is that it'd be great to see if we're going to have that opportunity of having a monthly pass, which would get us
Right.
any of those words. And I don't know if you mentioned that or not. I missed it. If you did.
Yeah, I didn't mention, I think I mentioned it in my write-up, but I don't think I mentioned it when yeah. And I think Phil Greenwald is the one that we would be talking to about that as well. Yeah.
And again, I read that, it's been a little while, but was it 66 and I-25 or was it 119?
Not for the,
bus.
yeah, 119.
119 and
Yeah.
okay.
So the hub that we're talking about in Longmont, is that around First and Main? Boy, they're eating up all that property so quickly, but there is room for something here, like a station of some kind.
That's been on the city plan for years,
Yeah.
just waiting for funding.
About 10 years.
So it'd be like across the street from, 300 Sons.
Yeah, across the street from the big apartment building, literally, that's why it's called that. Main Street Station, so it's there. Old bus station. It's there.
Anybody else have any questions?
No, but I got a comment. I'll come back to you. Yeah, it's a good thing.
Can't get out of the habit there. It's like brake system.
Last year, I think it was in May, we had Harold come to our meeting. And we, I shouldn't say complained, but we laid out a number of issues that we thought were important, primarily staff. And he listened to us, and I think it helped getting some additional staff, some additional resources. And we'd like to do the same thing this year. And I asked Ronnie just before the meeting if we could get Harold to come to the meeting in March. Now, I don't know if he's available or not, but it sure would be nice if we could get him, or if not in March, April at the latest, so we could make a similar kind of presentation. The reason I'm a little anxious is because time is getting short as far as making a recommendation to the city council. I was saying that we're trying to change the way we did the recommendations. We're trying to fit into the budget cycle. The budget cycle starts in March. So if we want to have any impact on what's going on with the city, staffing, resources, money, whatever, we have to get our stuff in the mix early. So that's why I feel a sense of urgency, and that's why I would like to get Harold here on March, preferably, or April, and if he won't come, I don't know, we got something of a problem, I guess. But now, coming to you, I think, no, that's okay. Coming to your report, I thought that was just excellent. And I think that we could take what I'm saying is that I think that we could take your report almost as is, and that would be included as our recommendation to Harold, and then to our report to the city council. And maybe change a few things here and there, and maybe next meeting, we could all vote on whether or not we agree with this recommendation, or parts of it, or not all of it. But as far as I can see, we could basically put, that would be our recommendation for the next budget year. Then, as far as housing is concerned, and Sheila, same thing. I don't know what you're going to talk about today, but by next meeting, we should be able to say, you know, these are the kinds of things that we've come up with, and these are the kinds of things we want to recommend to Harold, and then subsequently in a letter to the city council.
Okay.
And then, as far as outreach, I got some things to say about outreach a little bit later, but the same thing would apply to outreach. And we have stuff in motion already, and maybe today you could talk a little bit about that and bring the newer board members up to speed as far as what you've done when we get to that item on the agenda. So that's the sense of urgency. We've got this meeting, we got the next meeting, and if we can get Harold here by the 1st of March, first meeting in March, that's when we make our presentation. Then we start over for the next year. Kind of the way it works.
So I have a question for Marcia. And I know you said that we present these things to the council, but what is better received by the council? Some paper copy, or people actually showing up at the meeting and saying, these are our recommendations, or this is the way that we would like to go in the future, or both?
Well, it's always good to have backup.
Mm-hmm.
But the impact is presenting at the council and also having people show up and speak in public, invited to be heard in support of the presentation. So the more you can muster, and that doesn't mean filling up public invited to be heard with 27 speakers, but it could mean having 20 people show up wearing the same color and having 3 speakers. Just really a show of support is the most influential thing on council.
And when would that be? Just timing wise, would that be like May?
Earlier.
April?
April?
Yeah, and as early as possible when we're ready. There's a process that you follow to get on the agenda, correct, Ronnie? And so I think when Ronnie, who has a report for the agency, for the senior center, and the board are both ready, then he makes the request. But it's good to do this early in the budget cycle so that both the council and the financial department, the people who do these weighted works, in terms of deciding what gets funded and what can't be funded, what we have to do is establish the need case. Mm-hmm. And the more strongly we establish the need case, then the more likely we are to get the funds that we need to do the work we want done. And there's 2 aspects to that. One is showing public support, and one is showing that we have a firm plan so that, it's something that we collectively, the senior center and its advisory board, can execute on. So those are the objectives. And I'm sure Ryan knows that better than I do, but but that's what, if we last year we did a really, I thought, fine job of going over ways that the senior center can extend its reach to different segments of the community that are not as well served as the ones you see when you walk through here. We talked about extended hours, which requires more staffing because the people that are on the staff now are busy, right? They don't have more time to just hang around here. And we talked about outreach, and we talked about learning from the community what different services are helpful. But if they don't have a building to come to, it's hard to offer those different services. So those were all just for the benefit of the noobs here. Those are all things that we talked about doing. I'm really excited about those ideas because that's our job, right? Is to serve as many people as possible and to serve them with what they need. So that's the strategy for getting it, is just what David said.
I was gonna say what she just said. I agree with all of that. Well, I think it's important we get our ducks in order. That's what I'm trying to do here, you know. We know what we want to do, and then we push it through the system, like she said. So that's all I got to say.
Well, and even if we don't get what we're asking for, that it has been presented. The next year it can be brought up
Push it
again.
again.
So yeah, I mean,
Right.
we got to make a start somewhere.
Right.
What are the benchmark dates? Budget starts to gather information in March. What happens? What's the cycle after that?
I can go over that if you want. So generally, during the month of April and May, staff does our requests for both capital improvement projects and the operating budgets.
Which is people mostly.
Yes, yeah. By the end of May, staff can no longer make our requests. That's when it comes to an end. Generally, sometime in June, the city manager and the finance staff schedule a meeting with us to review our requests. It's our opportunity as staff to explain why what we're asking for is so important. From there, Harold, the city manager, and the finance staff put together a budget that is presented to city council by the end of August. And then city council usually in September conducts their budget and capital improvement budget hearings, so that staff is given the opportunity to share the need with council members as well as with the public. It's the first time that the public gets to hear what's in the proposed budget. Council in October conducts a couple of public hearings where the public can give comment, and then usually end of October, first part of November, the council approves the budget on 2 readings, and then it's set to go for the next year.
By that point, there was just the tinkering stuff.
Yeah, once it gets to being presented to city council, I would say it's 90-95% set, with council having a little bit of flexibility to add or take away. But really, your opportunity as a board really needs to be shared, your comments in March or April, or you've really missed out on the budget cycle for that next year.
Council could upset the whole apple cart in October or November. It has that power.
Yeah.
But in general, we are responsible people who care about the operations of the city, so we don't. Something would have to be really terrible.
Yeah, that's a great point, because council makes all the decisions, and if they don't agree with something that the city manager or finance department has put in, then things could get readjusted. But in my 25 years with the city, I've never seen that happen. I think that if council has issues, they voice that early in the process, so that decisions can be made to meet their needs.
And this was not done by council specifically, but probably the most disruption there's ever been to a budget was in 2008, 2009, when we had the Great Recession, and we couldn't afford, we didn't have enough revenue.
Yeah.
to continue with the plan as it was.
Yeah, that was the year the ice rink was going to be scrapped, and then in the midst of it being cut from the budget to a new council being elected, it was put back in the budget, and we had 2 weeks to get it operational. That was I had a full head of hair before. That's not true. I haven't had a full head of hair forever.
Okay, I don't know if there's any other discussion on that. If not, I'd like to move on, but thank you for that report, and thank you for
That was a
your
great
input.
report, Eileen.
And I guess the question I have is, as far as, would it be you or Jeff, or who would be contacting Harold to find out if he would make it to a March meeting?
I'll do that.
And Harold is the city manager?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it'd be good for him to hear what we have to say and to meet some of you folks. too.
I thought it was quite good last year.
Yes, it was, very informative.
He can often share things going on in the city too that we may not fully know about. You know, he can fill us in on things and let us know what the latest and greatest is. So.
Okay, housing, Lonnie and Sheila.
Okay, Sheila, do you want to go first, or you want me to?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I don't have a lot to say. And first, I want to congratulate Arlene. The report that she gave today and in the past have been really comprehensive and creative. So I want to give her my congratulations on that. The one thing that we found about housing is that it affects even every aspect of society in Longmont, from the young to the very old. But I'm trying to concentrate on the older section. And what I'd just like to do in this piece is to bring you up to date on what I have been doing over the last month, and then we'll give a fuller report next month or whenever is appropriate. So one of the good discussions I had was with a local realtor who is a senior real estate specialist, which is something from the National Board of Realtors that gives a certification to realtors who specialize in serving older people. And they give help with flyers and brochures and so on, and some webinars, some training, so that there are realtors in Longmont, and in fact internationally, who specialize in serving seniors. And I thought that was an interesting and rather worthwhile operation, and we should probably look out for that if and when we have the need of a realtor, or if anybody asks us for a recommendation. I had spent some time in the planning department talking to a zoning specialist, and it was, although she was extremely helpful, it was a little bit spiriting, because zoning is A, extremely complex, and B, extremely difficult to change once it's on the map. She said that people are sometimes tempted to do what she called a clean sweep, get rid of all the zoning in the city and then start afresh. Not to not have zoning like a city like Houston, but to start again. But that, everybody agrees that's not what it's doing. So I need to really understand that a little more. Those are the only two interviews that I had before I came away. I have an interview set up with Wendell Pickett, who's a developer in Longmont, who some of you may know or have dealt with. He's been associated with the LHA in his past, and is extremely interested in making sure that his work, his developments, and other people's take into account the needs of seniors. So I'm looking forward to having a good chat with him. Basically, housing shortage and affordability, as I said earlier, is the problem for all ages and all people of all financial status in this city and in the nation. I would love to think that you were talking about recommendations to the City Council. I was desperately trying to think of some realistic changes or that we could offer to the City Council to assist in senior living. But I haven't come up with anything yet, and I'm hoping Lonnie has, because she's a little more creative than I am. So, and also the one thing is we're still waiting for a change to the homestead property tax exemption, which is, I know, an issue for seniors who want to downsize, because the issue of property taxes in their budget is often a major issue, and they want to have what they feel is their right, and not have to wait another 10 years to get that exemption. So we will wait and see what happens. In looking into this, it's been on the state agenda for several years, and nothing has happened yet. And you'll remember this last election, it was part of Proposition 8. Yes, and that went down, as you may remember. So I'm going to do more work in the next few weeks, and Lonnie and I will come up with some recommendations and some thoughts at the end of those few weeks. And I'll turn it over to Lonnie, because I know she's been busier than I have been. So, Lonnie, over to you.
Before we...
It's okay.
Yeah.
Marcia has a
Yeah,
comment.
just because Sheila, you said you were looking for some recommendations. I recently learned an interesting statistic, which is, there's a housing needs assessment in Longmont that says that we need thousands of units of affordable and attainable housing just to meet the needs of the current people here who are either trying to downsize, who are inadequately housed, are in danger of losing their current situations, just those without growth considered at all. And Sheila said she was looking for zoning changes or city recommendations to the city. Recently, the city made a concession that said if you want to change a single-family home into a duplex, we'll waive the connect fee for water, which is like $25,000 that you wouldn't have to spend doing that conversion. And of course, there are many more fees and incentives that could be put in place to convert houses to duplexes. And if 6% of the single-family homes in Longmont, this is the statistic, were converted to duplexes, it would meet our housing need assessment shortfall. 6%. So a recommendation to planning and zoning would be to find ways to incentivize people to do that, and make that maybe not even change the zoning, just make that a change to the definition of the zone, so that you can do that in a single family neighborhood without getting the whole neighborhood riled up. So take a look at that. Wendell Pickett is an expert in that and a true philanthropist. So talk to him about that, and he'll have better ideas than I will about the pros and cons of that.
Thank you, Marcia. And the other thing, I was just thinking that when you said without getting the neighbourhood up in arms, there's a house converted. But supposing that half the houses on the block, or let alone all of the houses on the block, decided to become duplexes, I wonder what that would, what reaction that would take.
That's,
I mean, I'm
Could
thinking,
be a reaction.
that's why it's not a snap decision.
That's right.
I'm just telling you, you know, it could be like, you know, we can't control who owns the house, but we can say there can only be this many Airbnbs on a block, and we do, you know, so restrictions of that, of how, you know, first come, first serve, how many of these duplex conversions could be on a single block in a single family neighborhood. You could do that, for example. So there are ways.
And then how many?
there are always ways like that. Yeah, and well, you said that, does the city have any views on, I couldn't find anybody who did have that, but views on restricting Airbnbs? Has that been
Well, there
brought
are
to council?
statutory restrictions now.
Yeah,
You know, what happens is it's on the books, but we don't have a lot of budget devoted to enforcing it. So people are supposed to register as Airbnbs, but they don't always.
yeah.
Lonnie, did you
Thank
want to, I'm sorry, did you have some more, Sheila?
No, that's fine. That's me.
Okay.
I'll hand it over to Lon.
Thank you.
Okay, I took the affordable housing angle of housing, as far as I spoke to the people at the senior center, I spoke to the people at Hope for Longmont, and I'll think of another one. I have my report and I cannot access it. So what I'd like to do, I love the idea of your report. It was a great report. Plus I like the idea of getting it beforehand. So because everybody's getting a lot of information today, what I'd like to do is get the report out to everybody on email. And maybe we'll continue to do that. Give everybody a chance to read it before having it, you know, thrown at them at a meeting. Not thrown at them, but, you know, a lot of information given to people at a meeting. This way you can have a sense of what we're going to be talking about. So I'd like to get the report out to everybody. But briefly, I spoke to the people.
Lonnie, the one thing I would just say is that the report really should go to Ronnie.
Right.
And then Ronnie will distribute. That way, everybody is reminded that we can't conduct board business through email.
Okay.
It has to happen while we're all together.
Okay. Thank you for saying that. I didn't know that. So, but I can do that. I can get you the report, and then you can get it out to everybody. Yep. Perfect. Okay. I learned a lot at the senior center. I learned a lot with Hope, and basically, Longmont needs affordable housing. Longmont needs affordable housing for people who are unhoused, who are trying to downsize, who are losing their properties because places are being sold or rents are going so high that people have rented for a long time and now finding they can't afford to stay where they're at. So there's a lot of things going on, and basically there's not a lot of inventory for people to be able to pick up less expensive places to live. So it was also brought up that what we need is affordable assisted living, a place that would take Medicare or Medicaid, and just be affordable if you're not on Medicaid, but an affordable assisted living, because there are people now who, Sheila kind of took the aging at home aspect and what they go through when they're aging at home. But oftentimes, you know, people need the extra help, but they can't get it because assisted living is so expensive. So we're talking about affordable housing, we're talking about affordable assisted living, and just the situations that many people run into. Multi-generational families where grandparents are taking care of grandkids, and the senior center is asked to fill in services to help both, you know, each party on what they need. I think one of the best things we can do is really support the resource people here at the senior center. really see what we can do to help them with what they're getting the word out. And, you know, I don't know what we can do, but I think support of them would be really helpful, because they were basically saying their hands are tied sometimes because all they can do is get people on waiting lists, and then they sit there. There are 4 places in Longmont that give out vouchers, housing vouchers, yearly. LHA does it. Boulder County Housing Partners does it. And I can't remember the other 2, it's in my report. But anything we can do to help make sure people know that they can apply for these things. They can put in an application. They can find out if they're on the wait list. They can find out if they've made the lottery. Things like that, you know, if we could just really help people out with getting the word around and have people more aware that these are available to them, so they'll be looking for it and they won't miss deadlines and things like that. With Hope, they are now taking over emergency services from our center. Our center does no longer does any emergency placement for housing and things like that. It's really more Hope that's handling that whole thing. So they are trying desperately to get temporary housing for people who just really show up and say, I don't have a place to live, and then long-term housing. They're working on both of them, putting people into permanent housing. So we discussed it at length, and they really just need support. They need, if they're putting in ideas to the council or anything else, they need people to stand with them and say, yes, we support that, we think it's a good idea, you know. And so I don't know to what extent we can do that, but I certainly was surprised to hear how involved it can be, you know, with Hope. LHA, for the last 10 years, all their building has been seniors, for senior properties. So their new buildings, there's 2 going up right now, are for everyone. They are for they are for single people, couples, families, and seniors. You can apply for these places if you're seniors. It's just that you're not specifically forced, you know, yeah. There's no priority. So I would like to make sure that seniors are still being put on the list for these places and still getting the support they need. And I'm sure, you know, again, the Senior Center does such a great job on their own with their resource specialists, but if there's anything we can do to kind of keep an eye on things and make sure that seniors are being supported as much as everybody else, that would be a good thing too. So my report will say a lot more, and you'll be able to read more about what's going on. But I think basically that's where we stand. We stand that people are not being able to leave where they're living and find an affordable, cheaper place to live. They can't downsize. They can't, you know, they can't do things like that because it's just not possible. They want to hang on to where they're living because they're afraid that if they give it up, there's going to be no place to go. So because of the high cost of real estate, that's a huge issue here. We have to really keep an eye on making sure that seniors are getting the support they need. And like I said, Senior Center does a fabulous job of it. And Ronnie, anything we can do to help support that, you just let us know.
Clarification is the senior housing, are they all subsidized?
Well, there's levels of subsidy, right? So the all housing authority buildings are subsidized in some way through HUD and through community block grants, and there are many money funding sources both for the capital to get them built and for operational help. Then in addition to that, there are community choice housing vouchers which help individuals pay the rent that, that you have to pay whether you have a voucher or not if you're gonna live in a housing authority building. So there are people living in the housing authority buildings who don't have vouchers, who have enough income to pay the rent by themselves, and there are also vouchers that that you can get to pay the rent. That was a lot more important than it used to be, or it used to be more important than it is, because now private landlords are required to accept vouchers, where it used to be that LHA was almost the only place that would take vouchers. You know, the in-between and a few other places would take vouchers, but now there are more places to spend your housing choice voucher than it used to be before.
Okay.
And I'd also like to acknowledge the work of the Housing Authority in recent years, that they are, because they're doing a better job of administering the Housing Authority and making it cost-effective, well managed, that HUD is then entrusting them with the ability to administer more housing vouchers, so that slowly but surely the number of available vouchers is increasing.
And once you get approved for the list, or get your name on the list, how long are you allowed to stay on that list?
What did you? They've changed the policy and made it much clearer to people. You have to reapply every year.
Every year.
Yeah, a lot of people thought they applied once and then they said, I've been waiting for 8 years. No, you haven't. You fell out and you didn't know it.
Right.
And so, yeah, if you apply, and applying at one place doesn't apply you to the other places. So if you really anticipate needing housing support, what you want to do is go apply at LHA and at HSBC, or not HSB, Boulder County Housing Partners, and I don't remember the other two either. But
Boulder County something,
yeah,
and then,
yeah.
but let me just clarify this too, with LHA, when they have, you're put on a list, okay, and then there's a lottery, and then they go and they choose 20 people, and then you're informed that you're on the lottery and your names are taken off the list. With LHA, they continue on that list until they've gotten vouchers for everybody on it. So it's not a yearly thing you apply for. It's till the end of the list, and then they start another list, and everybody applies again, and then they continue until they fill it. The other places do. They have a yearly thing that you have to apply for every year.
I believe that policy has changed.
Where you do have to apply every year?
You do have to apply every year.
Really?
And what has happened, and this, I have this from a recent the city council is also the board of directors of the housing authority now. And so this was their reporting. What they have done was that waiting list was really not managed very well by the previous administration, and so there was a lot of confusion. But they called every single name on that list and sent letters and established that the people were no longer waiting. And so they don't really have a waiting list anymore. You know, it's like really short. And one of the things they've done is that you don't stay on the list for more than a year. And so, you know, when you're told when you apply that you have to apply again, this is not a forever thing.
Okay.
And
that
that's
just
another,
had to happen in the last year or so. Huh?
Yes, yes, and that would actually be another good thing for us to be aware of. So we could have one of the leaders of the housing authority come and talk to us about how their system is working now.
And the lottery system,
Well, that would be
that's,
right?
whether they're on the lottery or not, they still need to reapply.
Yeah.
So even
Right. And they could choose a few times during the year to pull names off the lottery.
Yes.
Okay? They could find that they have 50 vouchers coming in, and so they'll go for 50 names off the lottery list.
And I'm glad to hear that we are. I'm glad to hear that you're sending out letters and you're aware of that.
Yes.
But the other thing that you need to realize if you're ever talking to anybody is if your name comes up and they call you, you've gotta be ready to move.
Mhm.
Because if you can't move within a short amount of time, it goes on to the next person. So that's one of the things I think people don't understand, and I can understand that as well. If I have a lease on a place right now and it doesn't expire until, June, and you want me to move in now, I'll end up either paying for 2 different places or I'm gonna have to pass it up at this point. So, yeah, that's it.
You
If
go
they
off the
call
list?
you- No,
Oh, but you stay on the list.
Yeah. but you're not getting a
You
place
don't
right
get
there.
that unit.
Yeah,
Right, you go kind of
Right.
down to.
yeah, yeah.
Although
So-
the other thing is, you can't be charged double, the landlords can't collect double rent. So if you move out when you've still got months on your lease, but then your landlord leases up,
Mhm.
the next month, he has to stop charging you.
Yeah.
Interesting, okay.
Okay, Dave?
One question for Ronnie. This is so complex, and I mean, I think I know the answer to this, but do your staff understand all of the complexities of?
Oh, yeah.
They do?
Yeah.
Okay,
So they do a good job supporting some of their clients with those communication pieces. There's that misunderstanding that once I'm on the list, I'm on the list. So when so sometimes they'll get notification that person A is their application is about to expire, that they need to reapply. They help connect those dots, get a hold of that person, and let them know that they need to reapply.
So they're up to speed as far as all the angles that Lonnie was talking about.
And right, and the communication of, hey, your name was called, like you gotta move now. Sometimes emails change, phone numbers change, so it's a struggle to sometimes get a hold of these people. And if our team is not able to get a hold of them, then sometimes it comes back on us. Well, it's your fault, right? It's like, no, we're trying to help support you to get this information to you that your name was called, you were selected, or you need to reapply. So there's some misunderstandings of what our staff role is in supporting, and that we're not in control of it. Sometimes there's a misunderstanding that we're in control, and it's like, no, we're just helping communicate.
Yeah.
We're here to support and help communicate the information we're receiving. So there is we run into that a lot. There's a lot of misunderstanding of what our role is in that supporting process.
And Lonnie, is Hope still looking at homeless as well?
Oh, yes,
Still doing both?
absolutely,
Great, and they're picking up with some,
right.
great.
Now, they still only have the Frontier church. And, they basically have mats and things on the floor. They really need a homeless shelter in Longmont. We need a specific shelter, freestanding building specifically for homeless. And that way they can have services available and they can have support available, showers, anything, but we really need that. We need that badly, so.
Pauline, did you have?
Yeah, I just want to say a couple of things, and I'll say it really fast because I don't want to extend the meeting out forever. Going back to the HH, which did not pass, it's my understanding that the state legislature is looking at that beginning now. And so I think that we need to be aware of what they're talking about and where that's going, because the portion in there that was critical for us was the homestead, and that they had said it will go with the person, not with the property. So if I'm in a home right now, if I have that homestead and I decide to downsize, I gotta wait 10 years to get that back again. But if they get it to the point where it goes with the person, then I can downsize and I've got that. You're paying it anyway, why not carry it forward? Okay, and so I think that we need to be aware, and I don't know whether the city or whether we need to just send something to them and say, we would like to see this carried on. Do we grandfather in the people that are already doing it? What do we do? But the other thing is I don't know if you guys have ever got out to where the VA homes are, back behind Home Depot. I haven't actually visited inside any of them, but that is really a unique facility out there. If you get a chance, go visit it. Yeah, it's really neat. Habitat for Humanity is out there too, so it's really neat.
I'm going to be talking to the woman who's doing the VCP, is it called?
Good, yeah.
Project, yes.
And getting an idea of where they're at with it, you know, and how that is working out. I noticed about 3 or 4 months ago this picture in the paper of the first person getting their key and being able to move into one of the tiny homes, and I thought that was
It's a new facility.
that was a great thing. Also, just to let everybody know, in my report from the Boulder County Agency on Aging Committee, there is a link to the Proposition HH and what has been done since then, what they did in special session and stuff like that, and some of it has to do with new property, you know, new laws. And so if you wanted, it just so happens that it's in the other report, but if you want to look at it, it may be giving you some good information on what the latest and greatest is.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it does briefly touch base on the Homestead Act.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and that's, if anybody doesn't have any more questions, that's my report, and I will get Ronnie a copy of it and he can send it out.
Did I hear you right? We don't have a homeless shelter in town?
No, we do not.
No, we don't.
I should say, clarify.
Oh, sorry.
That is, there is not a municipal homeless shelter. What the city does is pass community block grants that come to the city to independent nonprofits like Hope to provide services to the neediest people. So Hope, and there is also Agape. There is Safe Shelter, which is it's actually a stealth facility. Nobody knows where it is.
Right.
And for victims of domestic violence, and they take single parents with children. You don't have to be a woman if you are the victim of domestic violence and are displaced by it. So there are a number of homeless shelters. There is not a municipal homeless shelter. And I don't want to run the meeting out later, but the problem of homelessness is way more complex than we don't have a shelter.
And, you know, I don't want to take too much more time on this either, but, you know, the one about affordable assisted housing, you know, the paper a few weeks ago, there was an article that, you know, your insurance doesn't pay any of the home care part of it. If you're doing it out of your home, you have to pay. And I know a gentleman that just recently had his wife taken out of a home, and he's paying $300 a day to for that assistance. So can you imagine what it's going to cost if you try to put him in an assisted living facility? So it's a big one. That's a big one.
When people want to age at home, well, they may have to have renovations made to their, or upgrades to their home environment for accessibility and things like that. They have to pay for that.
Yeah.
If they have extra care come in, they have to pay for that. So, you know, aging at home is not as easy as it may sound. They may own the property, they may own their home right out, but the amount of expenses that they would have to look at moving forward could drain them, and you know, they may lose their home because they have to pay those fees themselves.
Well, and Boulder County also gives grants to companies that will help with that. And I'm sure that your resource people know that, right? You know, so if they do need something, they need a ramp, if they need bars, if they need something going on, Boulder County does have.
If they can get in touch, if they can contact them, there are places that'll help.
Yeah, and if the senior center does not have a resource list for that, it does need one.
Yes,
for sure.
Yeah.
I know the woman who took care of my mother during her decline is now basically homebound. She lives in a mobile home just right over here on 16th, and she got her bathroom remodeled, she got her roof fixed, she got her ramp built, and she didn't have a dime, so she didn't pay a dime, and her grants came through Medicaid, I believe. But yeah, there are quite a number of resources for so people don't lose their homes to that in particular.
Is there a main office that you would, a main site you would go to find out who to go to?
It would be the Boulder County Aging, Area Agency on
The
Aging
aging.
office, yeah. So
Do they have an office at the St. Graham Hub?
It says they do.
it says they
yeah.
do, but I don't know that it's actually manned all the time.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, unless there's someone else, any more questions from any of you? Is the outreach and program development, you know, the one thing that, you know, it's always a big concern is, are we meeting the needs of all the community as far as ethnicity, et cetera? And one of the things that I don't know if it would be wise to get some resource specialists in here, and Valerie, to hear a little bit from them as to how many, you know, that the numbers will come in. Because some people you talk to, they say, oh yeah, they do have a lot of programs. And the programs that we have, they are getting good attendance. But the other thing that I think is really important are there other programs that might be needed by them that we're not reaching, you know, and so I just like to see what we think about in the future, having the resource specialist and Valerie, because Valerie is doing some of that too, right?
Correct.
And then I talked to Maria, and she was telling me that, you know, she volunteered here, and she'd be happy to make phone calls and invite people as well. So, you know, we would really like to continue to expand in that area. And maybe we're meeting the needs of everybody, I don't know. But if we're, I agree. But the thing is, you know, we would sure like to know. And like I said, one of the things that I do see is when they're coming for services, the resource specialists, they're getting their number of diversity there. But I'm not sure that some of the other programs are. And that's what we'd like to look at and talk about, a little bit more about. Do you have anything?
Yeah, so that's good timing. So, you know, my request for 2024 was to bring an additional programmer and allowing us to assess who we have on staff at that point to determine how we can increase Spanish programs specifically. So what we have done is we just brought on Terry Calvin, who's been helping us in a part-time capacity to keep our programs afloat when we had such high turnover. And so she applied for our full-time position. So what that allows us to do now is to not increase programs specifically, like our general programs, but allows us to be more intentional on Spanish programs now. So between Amy Hodge, our program supervisor, and Terry, our program coordinator, Ariana Heater, another one of our part-time coordinators. They are going to, and with Valerie as well, she's going to take some of these responsibilities, but they're going to, between those three specifically, are going to divide up responsibilities, take some off Valerie's plate, allowing her to be very intentional in expanding our Spanish programs. So with that, making sure that we're providing opportunities to have roundtables discussions with our current patrons. How do we bring in new patrons for these conversations? The outreach that you're talking about, bringing the right voices to the table to identify what our needs are moving forward, allowing Valerie to be intentional. So hearing them out and identifying what programs we want to implement moving forward. So it's going to be a slow process because, you know, right now, number one, she's taking over Spanish programs. That's a process on its own. And from there, developing relationships with our current patrons who are involved in these programs. Trust has to be developed and established before we do anything, right? You know, a big part of we're looking through that cultural piece. We develop those positive relationships first, develop that trust, and from there, build our programs. So it's not going to happen overnight. It's not we got a new programmer, we're going to throw in 10 new Spanish programs, done, problem fixed. Right. Again, when I say we want to be intentional, we already have classes and programs around nutrition. That looks different culturally for our Latino population, right? So we, again, intentional programming. It doesn't mean just having one of our current around nutrition, having a bilingual presenter with them to translate them. Again, we need to be specific on what the needs are if we were to offer these specific, these targeted programs that have been identified in these conversations. So it's going to be a slow process. I'm working with Amy Hodge, our program supervisor right now, to identify that timeline, which I'll come to the board probably in the next month or so, probably in the next month in February, to identify our timeline of this process, identifying where we want to have these roundtable discussions, how we're going to outreach, when we want to have programs implemented. Maybe it might be summer, it might be fall, we don't know yet, right? But again, growing it from the ground up, instead of saying, this is what we think, we need to know what the need is before we do anything, right? We don't want to be, we don't want to just be reactive. We want to be proactive in this process. So that is our goal.
That's great. One of the things, and this is just something out because working at the restaurant, there's several, and most of the time it's been Hispanics that go in there and say, listen, have a family member just passed away, we're trying to get him to Mexico. And, so we need some kind of a plan that, think about something like, I don't know what you would call it, death and dying or something like that. That's a reality that, folks, you need to save a little bit of money every month, if you can. Because you don't wait until the person is in that state and then just say, hey, we need money to get them out there. Right? And then totally understanding the difference between a cost for an autopsy versus a full-fledged funeral. Not an autopsy, cremation versus the full spectrum, but something like that. But we would want to hear from them. The only reason I brought that up is because there were several that want to put a jar in there, which the corporation, corporate will not allow them to do that. Doesn't allow them to put signs on their windows or things like that, dealing with fundraisers or anything like that. I think there's that, and I'm sure there's a lot of others that need to be involved. And I guess the question, I don't know, Maria left, I guess, but like with Maria, who is willing to volunteer, does she, how, I don't know if she knows who to contact or whatever to let them know she'll do whatever needs to be done to kind of help in that area also.
So there's a process for our volunteers to be vetted to do this work. We basically have to gain HR clearance to allow our volunteers to do the work that they do. So right now, we're at over 300 volunteers.
Wow.
Some do a lot more intentional work than others, but we have a total of over 300 volunteers at this time in different capacities and in different spaces to support our needs. So that information is communicated out in our bill as well on that process. But right now, just applications are closed. But how do we get that information out there? We can. It's on our website. It is in our Go, and we do have a lot of those conversations. We have a lot of people who just stop in and say, "Hey, I'm interested in volunteering. How do I do that?" And so, but there's different things. It might not be that forward-facing volunteer work. We have our John. Do you care to speak to volunteer work you do? Is that okay? Sorry to put you on the spot.
Peer support here in the center is available to seniors. Across, we're having difficulties with grief support or isolation. Remember, they face anybody, but particularly seniors. And the outreach that Ronnie's group does with them and the training that we receive is pretty impressive. And we meet here at the center, talk to people, we meet in their homes if they need help. But what I'm finding in the process is that the people who know about it, but there's a lot of people who don't. And I keep hearing issues here about how we communicate, how to get the information out to the community, all of the community. Even if people aren't seniors, and tell their family members and what have you. That's the one thing that I've heard occasionally here today. How do we do great services, but who knows about it? 8,000 to 9,000 people through here a month. that's a tenth of our population. How do we do better with that? But peer support group is incredible, it's well supported by staff here.
So the communication, thank you. And so that communication piece, we are looking to build and establish through our improving our website. We just started Facebook up again. Once we get these things, it's been a slow process. Facebook just started up. From there, we're going to look at doing better advertising through our 50+ marketplace. But we need, again, staff and time to do a lot of these things. So that's why it's been a slow process. But we're slowly getting that momentum on improving our communication out to our community as well.
For either of you, sometimes I get complaints through social media, right? I'm like the unofficial city council Facebook worker. And I don't know whether this is accurate or not, because sometimes, especially when they're not on the record, people will say anything just to vent their anger. But is there a long waiting list to get peer support?
No.
No, there's a pretty detailed screening process to make sure people have the needs and they need professional help beyond what we can offer as volunteers, that type of thing. The screening may take a little while. I know that some of the support staff are 7 weeks out on some of the things they're able to do, just because there's such a demand.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if people have a complaint, they should bring it forward so it can be addressed.
Right.
Most people just want to complain and not move it forward.
There is, as John mentioned, so there is a wait.
But it's weeks, not months.
It can be anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks. That is a reality based on our staffing needs right now, our staffing right now. So the rate, so identifying that as a need, that is going to be one of my focuses for
the
budget for 2025, is identifying how, well, not only the need, but looking at our statistics. If we're at 4 to 6 week wait list right now, what impact can 1, if not 2, additional staff members for supportive services do? Can that knock our wait list down to 2 weeks or 3 weeks, or just provide a quicker turnaround? How many more clients can we take on that?
Right, because the staff trains more peer support counselors.
Yes.
How long does it take to train a peer support counselor?
8 weeks.
8 weeks. So you won't make any difference for 8 weeks.
Well, the biggest issue that we had was when the staffing turnover had occurred early in the year or late last year. And the way they responded to that got the staffing up, I think, relatively quickly. At that point, they were, as I understood, 4 to 6 weeks out. When that number's come down, now that your staffing is coming up.
That is true.
So, but they respond as quickly as they can from what I've seen.
I have heard nothing but good things from people who are in the program. So that is a real point of praise. I have one other question since we're on the subject. What is the escape valve? If you call a mental health provider, they will always have a recording that says, if you are a mental health emergency, hang up and call 911. And does the peer support counseling system have an escape valve for, like, referring people to mental health partners or something? Whoever is working with the city on that.
To refer them for emergency support services.
For emergency support services.
So, if basically the communication is, if you cannot wait a 4 to 6 weeks out, and you need that support sooner than the communication is, you seek them emergency support. But I wanted to go back to peer support volunteers. So that is actually who's on our Go cover this year, is honoring and recognizing our peer support volunteers and the work that they do. So what they do is, allows us, as John mentioned, is that there's that assessment process to identify what their needs are. And if it's something that our volunteers can take on, then they take them on as a client workload. And then it allows our staff to focus on the additional needs of other clients, if that makes sense. So being able to differentiate what the needs are and decide from there who will be able to provide the supports for those individuals. So it's a great system, it's a great program. We have great volunteers. We have an office for them in the back. that they schedule out their appointments that they make. So they basically reserve the room for their appointments each week out. And so nothing but positive things. I've also heard nothing but positive things about this support that we provide as well. And I'm very thankful for our volunteers to give us those additional supports because, as mentioned, because of that wait list, we can't get to everybody. But anyway, so back to what our need is for 2025, I am going to be spending time to focus on identifying the need again, but framing it as a need, a necessity, and not a want or an ask, right? I mean, our community is growing. That wait list can continue to grow additional weeks out, farther weeks out, and we just want to be able to provide us support sooner rather than later. So again, looking at the data, how many people for our current staff, how many people are we seeing a week, a month? And if we were to add 1 to 2 more staff members, what does that reduce the wait list to? Can we see somebody in a week or 2 weeks out versus
And extending your hours would make a difference too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, lots of people can't do it during night.
Sorry,
That's right.
Sorry.
go ahead.
Oh, I was just affirming what Arlene said.
Oh,
Sorry,
okay.
didn't mean to speak out of turn, I just do it.
That's okay.
There's a report that they're creating for the participation of peer support and other programs. Like Kingdom is getting our numbers of hours.
Yeah. So they're working on that for the annual report, which
Okay.
I don't have.
Okay.
Yeah.
A quick question. So they have the same service in Spanish or only in English?
Yep, Spanish as well. Yep. So we have 2 resource support volunteers, not volunteers, sorry, specialists who are bilingual. So
Yeah, I was wondering because I take care of my mom for 5 years. So she passed away last year and she was 95. So she was living with me the last 5 years. So my daddy died in 92 and then she was, one of my brothers were taking care. And men can take care of women's is harder. So they bring me here to cover that.
All right.
good questions.
Okay, unless there's any other questions, let's move on to discussing the 2024 annual report. We have about 35 minutes left, and we just want to make sure we get through the agenda here. So who's going to be talking about the annual report? Dave?
I will if you let me. Take your good books and turn to Bylaws City Ordinance tab, second page.
I got right, I memorized the city code in first year.
I mentioned earlier we have an annual report that we submit to the city council. And if you look under powers and duties, that's basically the guideline that we're going to be following as far as our recommendations. Everybody with me? Okay. And I don't know if we'll follow it just exactly A, B, C, D, but those are the kinds of areas that will make our recommendations. And I wanted to say, Ronnie, that Brandy has been making that annual report, I think, for years. And I'd like to see her keep doing that because I think there's a lot of useful information in that too. So, if you could consider that.
Yeah.
So, anyway, you can see for yourself, just to go over this. This is old stuff to some of you, but this is mainly for the new people. We have part of our responsibility is item A, to establish recommendations for guidelines and policies. B, to review annual budget requests relating to senior citizen programs. C, serve as liaison between the city council and the community of senior citizens. And D, to report annually in writing concerning the operation of the senior center and really any other matters of relevance, I think is what it boils down to. So I think the way this is written, we have a lot of latitude on the kinds of things that we would want to recommend.
Dave,
Yes.
I think it needs to say in writing and in person.
Oh.
Possibly, I don't know.
Yeah. I'm sorry, in a particular place here or?
D, to report annually in writing
Yeah, right.
and in person. That way that would be in front of the city council.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that, but yes, yeah. I think everybody agrees that maybe we should make a presentation on the order of what Marcia was describing, and get some people there, and maybe have 2-3 speakers. I don't know how we want to do that. We can talk about that later. But anyway, to have as much impact, the city manager, a written report, and a show of force before the city council, all of those things, I think, are important to make an impact. And I think part of the reason, I've mentioned before that the staff here just stayed around 10 people for years and years, and I think part of it was because it's kind of low profile. Everybody thought it was really good. Everybody's really satisfied with it, but it was kind of low profile. So anyway, I'm saying that we need to make kind of a splash. And if we don't make a splash, we're going to get ignored. And so, Art, I want you to go make the splash. We're good at it. So anyway, that's kind of the overall framework of what the annual report is going to look like. And we'll work on that later. Like I say, I will probably bring some kind of a draft next time. But it'll be just a draft, and we'll add and subtract to it. And if everybody then could have their initial report, so to speak, ready to go. Okay, that's all I need out of a good book. A new survey regarding basic services. Again, this is mainly for the new people. We've had 3 or 4 surveys over the last couple of years, and they all show pretty much the same thing, is that people are very satisfied in what they report as far as the services, as far as the programs are concerned. Exercise and fitness programs are always right up there. Classroom presentation classes, that's always up there. So the 3 or 4 surveys that we've had tend to come out about the same. The last one we had was much better done. It was done by the marketing section of the city, and they did a very good job. But it was focused primarily on programs. And it just, again, affirmed that your staff is doing a really good job and has for a long, long time. That's on programs. But, there's a but. And the but is, let me back up a minute. When I was approached about being on the board, one of the first things I did was to look up some information on the city and the programs and the divisions and that sort of thing. And the idea of equity permeates the city literature. Equity is a big deal with the city. As a matter of fact, most meetings have that preamblum, saying about the Arapaho tribe and the Indian lands. So, I mean, there's a real commitment to, to equity, I think, in the city. That really appealed to me. And I read through some of the strategic plans, and equity as far as senior services is also important. And that's where I think we could maybe do something a little bit different. And I said that the programs as is and the people that come into this building are satisfied. That's not it. What about other basic services? That's what I'm getting at. We have a community, and I don't remember the exact percentages, but it's roughly 80% white, 25% Hispanic, 2-3% Black, and some other groups. And I'm not sure whether or not low income, that's a significant area, those over 85, that kind of thing. You can slice and dice it different places. I guess the thing is, you can create a profile of the community. Do the services that we provide match that profile? That's the question. And granted, we do a good job. No, we do not count. Ronnie and his staff are doing a good job. But are we meeting in an equitable fashion all of the things that people in our community need and want. That's my issue. So, that's why I'm thinking that we need another survey. And, you know, I get tired of doing surveys all the time, I really do, but sometimes it's the only way to get information. There has been some resistance, quite frankly, and legitimate, about resistance to collecting information about the clientele that you have, because of confidentiality, people being afraid that they're going to be targeted somehow, and that sort of thing. That's all legitimate. But I'm thinking if we could get the city marketing division, and it's the same people, get them to do a survey, but not so much on programs, but on basic kinds of services, you know, like I made a list, an arbitrary list I made up. You know, to focus on, not on the programs, but on things like health, transportation, housing, information, caregiving, counseling, finance, abuse, all of those kinds of things. The idea would be to get a representative cross-section sample. I don't know how that would work exactly, and I don't know what the response rate would be. It's tough to get a good response rate sometimes, but they had a pretty good response to the last one that you did. Anyway, yeah, I'm sorry, kicking the horse. Anyway, it would be designed something like, you have an area like the transportation. Now granted, we have lots of transportation programs, but is transportation a problem for a particular group that should be served and isn't? That kind of thing. What if you have a person that's Hispanic, for example, that has a problem with depression and also has a problem with caregiving, and they don't have a car, and they can't hardly get out of their own home. So is that an area, I'm just making this up, but is that something that we want to focus on? Are they people being missed, even though what we're doing in the center is wonderful? You get my point? So I'm saying that the people that did the marketing in the survey would focus on trying to get a cross-section, like I said, and they go through these different areas and maybe have a Likert scale, a 5-point scale. Like health is a very serious problem to me or a member of my family. That would be like a 5. And on the other end, it would be it's of no consequence to me, or however you want to define that scale. And you go through these different areas, and then you get some sort of a measure that way. Okay, then, so what do you do with it? And what I would think that you want to do with it is Ronnie and his staff, or maybe you and Harold or Christina or whoever, your managing people, you take, let's say that the highest ranked need out there is not what we expected it might be, but it might be something like, I don't know, abuse. I don't know if that's a good category or not, but abuse is a really big problem. Okay, and then do you have the staff that you need? Do you have the money? Do you have the budget? Do you have the resources to plan and to reach those people that have that kind of a problem? So, this is not easy stuff. So, your task would be to define what you would do during the year. Okay, you've identified the problem by group, how important the issue is by group, hopefully. And then you devise a plan of what you're going to do, specific activities, programs, whatever, that meet that particular need. And then at the end of the year, you evaluate how you did it. And that's how we measure how we're going to go through from time period to time period. So, this is all kind of new. I don't know whether I see some people nodding their head and some people looking crazy. So
I guess how do we define what the role of the senior center is as compared to those things on your list?
And what the city offers.
Yeah.
And the what?
And what go ahead. And what the city offers. If senior services doesn't offer support on abuse, which I think we do to some extent, but how do we connect people to that service somewhere else in the community?
Well, yeah, I don't know exactly, but it goes back to your referral, your support services staff. That would be something that they need to be aware of, and so they can make the kind of referrals that they need. You don't have the resources enough time yourself. Is that what you're getting at?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I'm not saying that you pick up and solve all of these problems. Especially housing.
Transportation.
So, it's a way to make movement. If someone asked me to describe how you do, what kind of progress you've made in these different areas and basic services over this last year, I couldn't tell them. And, I would like to know, as a board member, I would like to know, so I can make recommendations to the city council, to the Herald, or anybody else that's listening, So this is not easy stuff. It's simple, it's simple enough. Define the need, plan a program, and evaluate it. I mean, it's simple enough, but doing it is a little more difficult. So this is the kind of thing that I think we want to do as far as to get to your issue, Art, is how do we do outreach? That would kind of define where we go, what kind of outreach we do. We do outreach where the need is.
Yeah.
So,
And it's going to be a long process.
no, this is not something to do overnight, no.
Marcia and Jeff both had their hand up.
Oh, I was just gonna add that what Dave is describing is a no wrong door strategy. It basically means things like at some point the senior center, which is likely to be the first contact for a lot of certain groups, it gets better at referring people to the police team that is associated with domestic abuse, because it's a priority for them, and elder abuse is domestic abuse. We might have some expertise, or we might not, in the Longmont Economic Development Partners, because they used software and a lot of different techniques for implementing no wrong door for entrepreneurs, startups in the community. It's not a different problem, it's just a different space. So I just wanted to point that out, that it has a name, and essentially when you were saying how do you do your metrics, you have counters on the arcs of the graph so that when you make a referral you count that. There could be a different time for talking about it.
Yeah, that's something a little further on down the line, but that's the idea. That would be the idea. Then another idea that's had some resistance, I don't know how you folks feel about it, and that's to narrow the subgroups down by the survey that was done just lately. That was broken out by age. Well, it sure would be helpful if we had a breakout by sex, income level, race. Those would be the big ones. So, and I know there's some resistance, like I said, within the staff. Some people just don't like to do that because they feel it's invasive. But lots of people, lots of organizations do it. Census Bureau does it. But that's something that I would leave in the hands of, if that's a recommendation we want to make, that's something that the marketing people could work out. Maybe they'd want an attorney's opinion. I don't know how far you can go. collecting that information on the survey, I think, wouldn't be a problem because it all would be anonymous and you're not at the senior center. But once you get to the senior center and providing services, that's a different animal. So, I mean, there's some work. This is just an overall big picture idea. But that's the sort of thing that I would like to recommend.
And I don't know if we would not need to put this on the agenda for next month or continue
Yes.
with some of this as to
Yes.
what we're doing.
I'm sorry,
We're able
I'm
to
sorry,
say.
I'm done.
And so is there any other questions? If not, I'd like to go ahead and move on to Ronnie. Manager's report.
I'm gonna text Teresa. So we have I want to introduce one of our new staff members, Teresa Melvin, our front office receptionist. She started with us a few weeks back, and just wanted to.
Do you want me to go get her?
I got it coming.
Okay.
I told him to keep her going by.
Okay.
And so I'll bring her out here in a second. But also did want to announce that Terry Calvin did accept our recreation program coordinator position, and so she's officially starting. She's been with us in a part-time capacity, helping us since the summer. But she's officially starting in this role next Monday, full-time. So excited to have Terry, keeping her on our team, and that team just their chemistry. It takes time to build chemistry and learn other people's work habits, right? To support each other. And that team of four back there has just clicked immediately, and our programs. And I've said it from the very beginning. Our programs don't suffer, but they definitely have not suffered. They've introduced new ideas into our program, things that we've never even done before, and I'm just hearing nothing but positive feedback from anybody who attends our CEPs, cultural enrichment programs, and our day trips as well. So just fantastic team, and I'm glad we're keeping Terry with us. We, at the end of the year, our team kind of met to identify goals for 2024, so I just want to share with the board that we're working on crafting it. We've identified our goals for 2024 and our foundation around culture. And what do we stand for, basically? What do we, as a senior center staff members, what is it we stand for in our community? So we're going to start unpacking that, develop goals for 2024 based off of those responses, and start using that to align for everything we do this coming year.
Rami, are you going to present that to the board so that we can have goals that?
Yeah, when we get there, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, we're just in the, we jumped in this office, this whole whiteboard, this room, this whole whiteboard was full of notes, so reflecting on this past year. So last year's goals that were established and kind of seeing where we fell in the process. Did we meet these goals? Did we achieve them? Do we need to carry these over to 2024? And then setting those foundational goals for 2024. So it's still, we just have pictures of all those notes, and we're going to start crafting it together and pulling it together to identify measurable goals. So once I have that, absolutely, I'll present that to the board. Our two CEPs, we had two December CEPs, our holiday soiree. We had 132 participants, which was sold out, and we had a wait list for that. 132 in attendance, and our Happy New Year, which was 120 participants and also sold out again.
Ronnie, what's the CEP?
Cultural Enrichment Program. So for our new board members, our Cultural Enrichment Program is events that are funded by our Friends Board. So our goal is to do one a month, and it's free for anybody who uses the Senior Center, and you just have to sign up for it. And of course, there's limited capacity. And so we do different things. From one of these was a live band. So we had a live band here with some drinks and snacks. There's been things done in the past where somebody comes into storytelling, a magician, things like that. So just fun programs. So we have one coming up next week that I'll be leading. Mayor Peck will be in attendance on that one. And it's going to be around, and you're more than welcome to attend as well, is around the work that we have done from the youth side with Sister Cities, but the work we are doing as a senior center to partner with the Northern Arapaho Tribe in Wyoming, and to work towards an elder exchange. So we're going to share the Sister Cities video here in the gymnasium, and then have a Q&A after. Again, myself will be there to talk about the work that we're doing towards the elder exchange. Mayor Peck talking about the land acknowledgement that exists here in the city of Longmont, and also share her experiences going down to Wyoming to connect with Northern Arapaho leadership as well. We have three of our Sister Cities representatives coming in, two with the city, and one who is on our Friends Board to kind of share their experience doing this work with the youth, getting us to where we are right now. So thanks, Teresa. So this is Teresa Melvin. She started with us a couple weeks back. She is our new front office receptionist. And this is our advisory board. And I just wanted to introduce you, Teresa, and let them know who you are.
Hi, I'm Teresa Melvin. I've been, I lived in Longmont for 10 years, and now I'm living in Firestone for the last 14. So I know the area pretty well. And I am so happy, and I gotta tell you, I love what you're doing. The Senior Center mission is pretty amazing. This is such a neat community, and the services and resources that this place offers are outstanding. So I'm very happy to be here and be part of this community now. Really, it's pretty cool. If I can help you in any way, I may be a little slow at first, but I'm happy to do that. So please let me know.
Welcome. And
Thank you.
Thanks for coming to work.
Yeah, it's
I like your enthusiasm there.
thank you. Cool stuff.
All right.
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you.
Thanks, Teresa.
Good to meet you.
Good to meet you all. I'll have to ask your name several times.
So we'll have that presentation next week, and just very excited for that. Just to introduce, this work that to our community, what we're doing, and where we want to go with this. So what's been done on the youth, what's been accomplished on the youth side, and how we want that to transition and carry over to our senior side. So.
And what is the video?
That is. Sorry.
That's okay.
That is next week. It is on Thursday, the 11th, from 2:30 to 4. The 11th from 2:30 to 4. Okay. Sorry, I didn't have that on top of my head. I have a lot of other things.
I'm sure you do.
Just a few. Right? So very excited about that one though. It's been a lot of work, and it's worth it. It's worthwhile, and I'm just excited to share that with our community. Our Go magazine has arrived for December through February, which we have in here in your binders, and our Spring Go has submitted for print. So we're getting ready to solidify our Spring Go catalog coming up. Day trip departures have launched last month in December from Lashley Street Station, so we're excited that we are officially utilizing that space and being meaningful with it. So we're not just doing a program here or there. That is our new hub, our new location for all of our day trips. A nice big parking lot, and we're just able. Sometimes we come here when we have a lot of programs going on. This parking lot is just very jam-packed. So we have those day trips where they're gone from 8 a.m. till 5 p.m. And we have a charter bus that carries 50 plus people, right? And that's 30 vehicles in our parking lot. That leaves whoever's coming for our day programs here, our classes here, to park over at recreation and walk all the way down. So it just helps alleviate some of that congestion. But again, having that central location for where all of our trips depart as well is very important. Right? We've identified that space for that purpose. It's going well. Of course, there's some. We're hearing a lot of feedback, which only allows us to get better in what we're doing. So we're taking that feedback into consideration and identifying what requests I need to make moving forward as well for budget for 2025 as well, to make some improvements, if that makes sense. Lighting is an issue over there. So
in the parking lot?
Yeah, just a little.
When it's dark at night?
Yeah. So we just want more.
Engineering?
We just want more lights. We're getting there. It just launched in December, so we're getting there, collecting some feedback so we know who we can go to for what and see what adjustments we can make pretty quickly. We're excited for that change for sure. I don't want to take too much time because we have 4 other reports. So with that information, does anyone have any questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Let's go on with Martha.
I've had a lot to say already. So, yeah, just to reiterate, I do think being vocal about the portability of the senior homestead exemption is a really good thing. This board could, for example, write a letter to our senator and representatives for Longmont in support of it. There's no reason why you can't do it. You can also make a request to the council to write a letter in support of the portability of the senior exemption. I don't know why any seniors voted against HH, because there were a lot of lots of disinformation around that.
Yeah.
But I mean, I voted for it just because of the senior exemption. Yeah, because the rest of it you couldn't understand, but everybody can understand that, and that's the piece that we really need. Yeah, so I think I always try to talk about the ways that this board can use its power and the power of council to get the right things done. And I'm looking forward to the new year.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Can we come up with a draft letter that we can use to all send something? You know, and then give us contact information on who to send it to make it as easy as possible. I mean, people could personalize it somehow, but at least we get the right information in the letter.
And who were we thinking about as far as drafting that?
I don't know. I don't know that I know the ins and outs enough to draft a letter like that, but
Someone could make an appointment with Sandy Cedar and ask for her advice.
okay.
Because she is our legislative liaison, and she wouldn't draft the letter for you, but she could probably give you the facts.
Good.
Will you follow up on that?
Cedar, she's an assistant city manager.
Sheila, I just want to give you a heads up that
Okay.
we're having connection issues, so the computer might die.
Okay, and Lonnie said she would go ahead and follow through with this. Area agency on aging. It's,
That's me.
okay, go ahead, Lonnie.
Well, yeah, I sent the report. We had it in Lafayette, and they've recently renovated their senior center, so there was a lot of talk about that. And then they talked a lot about,
Lost her.
they talked a lot about their upcoming recruitment, and who's gonna stay on the board and who's not. I wish I had access to my report. I'm sorry I don't, but I did include it, so if anybody would like to get more information. And again, there's a big thing on the Proposition H, Proposition HH. They talked about Sister Carmen community supporting and serving younger and older adults in the community, and there's a webpage that you can look at. And this is a prepared statement on what happened with Proposition HH, what was done in special session. Lindsay has contacted some people about any proposed legislation around portability of the tax exemption. And she'll follow up with that information, so that she'll be another resource that I can go to and find out exactly where it's at, along with the letter that I'm gonna be drafting. So, she definitely put in what bills passed during the special session. So if you wanna go in and click on the links, you can read all the different things that were passed during the special session, such as emergency rental assistance grant program, increased earned income tax credit, summer electronic benefits transfer program, property tax relief, and so on. It also, I added a link that showed kind of a overall consolidation of what happened during the special session in November. So they are going through recruitment. Recruitment one runs through January 19th. So if anybody's interested in getting involved with the Boulder County Area Agency on Aging, please let me know and I can point you towards the right person to talk to and to contact. And Caitlin from the Association for Community Living did a presentation. The link is included. And basically it was several aspects of living in a community where disabilities are embraced. And she did at her presentation and several resources that she shared. And that's it.
Questions? You know, I know people are busy, so if you need to leave, we can definitely understand. But if we can, if there's anything we can table till next meeting, but if somebody in the friends wants to.
So that was Sheila, and she did not attend this last meeting.
Okay.
Dave got that notification too late. But really all they did is identify 2 new board members. There wasn't too much missed. Right now they're reviewing our proposed budget for the senior center for next year. And so they just spend a lot of time and energy reviewing those line items. So.
They've been invited to attend our next meeting.
What's that?
Friends, they've been invited to attend next meeting.
Okay.
New president, Chuck Bueller, and previous president, Linda Fetterman.
They've confirmed that?
They have, yes.
Sustainability?
It's getting late, so I'll only say, I included the report. I didn't summarize it because I just have a hell of a time typing reports, to be honest with you. So I just gave you the report. One thing I want to highlight, though, is something that's going to be a big issue, in my opinion. This last year was the hottest on record. Next year, according to the experts, is going to be worse. Heat mitigation is going to be a problem in the future, particularly the group of people I was talking about before. So I have nothing specific right now to suggest, but that's something we need to track, and it's going to become an issue.
Any questions on that? Engaging caring communities, who says?
I don't think they've been meeting, that group. I don't think we have anybody.
I know, I was gonna say. Okay, items from the board. Is this a new business or any new business or what do we buy?
If anybody has any comments, any board members.
Okay, anybody have any comments, any questions? Okay, motion to adjourn?
So moved. Second.
So, all in favor? Okay. Thank you, folks. I appreciate you coming and excuse the, we went over just a couple of minutes, which is not bad.